about put a little love in your heart. Put a love in your heart. Well, you know what? We don't have to put it there. And that's what I'm going to talk about today. Who's ready to go on the love train? Oh, there we go. I am taking us on the love train today. That's where we're headed. So this whole month of February, we have been talking about love in all the different aspects. So we started off with Doug Craig talking about love in terms of what love means and all the different aspects of love. And then we had Sig Taylor talking about love in relationships. And then we had Howard Parsons last week telling us all about our essential self and our essential love that we are. And that's what I'm going to expand and build upon today, which is love is more than a feeling. So I think we need a lot more words for what it actually is. We only have this one word. It really isn't adequate to discuss everything that love is. So as I started to prepare for this talk, you should see my office because it's still that way. I've got books piled everywhere, and I've got stuff. I'm going to stuff there. Now I'm not going to get caught on that. I could talk about this for probably 4 hours. So I hope you don't have any plans for the rest of the day. But don't worry, fear not. I'm just kidding. And I wrote down some notes so that I don't go on and on and on. But I realized that I could, because when I first started thinking about it, I thought, well, love, I mean, everybody knows what love is. Like, what am I going to say that's going to be any different than anybody else? So, in terms of our unity principles, what I'm going to talk about today is the first principle, which is that there is only one presence and one power, and that is love, right? So I'm going to talk about what is love, what is being, and then finally, how do we be love? How do we do that? How do we actually accomplish that? And that is about the fifth principle, which is we have to put it into action. It's not good enough to just know it intellectually. There's no point in that. There's no benefit in that for you or anybody else. It's about being in the world in that state. So let's start with what is love. Love, to me, in that larger sense, is the universe. It is the fabric of the universe. It's what makes up everything in and around us. It is in the vacuum. It is in matter. It is what makes up everything. So we are so swimming in this energy of love that we don't see it anymore. It's like fish in the water, right? The fish don't really know the water's there because they're in it, they're swimming in it, and they're immersed in it, and that's just their environment. Well, to me, that's what love is. Love is that energy that permeates everything. And we talk about love in that way in our statement of being, right? We said we are here as love. What does that mean? What does that mean to be here as love? So I would suggest to you that it's not an intellectual pursuit to know what love is. It is something much deeper than that. And if we look at what Charles Fillmore had to say about love, he said, God does not love anybody or anything. God is the love in everybody and everything. God is love. Man becomes loving by permitting that which God is to find expression in word and act. So Charles Fillmore, of course, is one of the founders of Unity. And so that quote to me just adequately, beautifully captures exactly what I'm talking about. So if that is love, then what is being? What is our state of being? Well, your state of being is that energy that you bring with you wherever you are. And it can change from moment to moment. But we kind of have sort of what I call a background operating system of being. whatever that is, whatever that energy is. And being in this dualistic world, this 3D reality that we have, and this dualistic reality that we have, we of course have two polarities within that. We have, on the one hand, fear, and the other hand, love. So those are the two basic states of being that you can be in at any time. And within those, of course, there's variations within that. So within fear, there's variations. Within love, there's variations. But basically, when you get right down to it, it's love or fear. So at any given moment, you are radiating either love or fear. And I love, the best definition I found of being is Ralph Waldo Emerson, who said, "Who you are speaks so loudly, I can't hear what you're saying." Have you had that experience before? Where somebody is saying something to you, but the sense that you're getting, the feeling that you're getting, is completely different. And here's something interesting too. It doesn't necessarily, it goes with you more than just with your presence in terms of where you are here and now. Have you ever received an email from somebody and you read the words but you felt it? You felt the energy that was behind the words? So it's not only that it infuses where we go and where we are at any given moment, but everything that we do from that state of being is infused with that energy. Isn't that interesting? So, we have our... Hello? I think we have to get new batteries or something. This happened last week. I figured I was... I'm back on. See? Chad has the energy of battery.
I'm just saying it's right here.
And when Chad moves forward, the energy comes to the battery. Thank you, Chad, for that beautiful demonstration. I don't know how we planned that, actually. It was very difficult how we planned
Science.
Yes. So let me give you an example of the difference between being and doing. So you can have exactly the same action with a different state of being behind it and have a completely different result. So here's an example. Healthy eating. Let's say there are two people who are eating very healthy. The one person is eating very healthy because they love their body, they love how they feel when they eat healthy, they have an active lifestyle, and it just makes them feel good when they eat healthy. It's just what they're attracted to. What state of being do you think that comes from?
No.
From love, right? On the other hand, there's somebody who's eating really healthy because they're terrified of disease, they're terrified of getting sick, they're so worried that there's something wrong with them that they just are eating, so they're eating healthy so that doesn't happen. What state of being is that? Fear, exactly. So it's the same doing, it's the same thing, same outcome, but then the results are going to be completely different. Right? So it's not about what we do, it's about who we are, which is what Emerson was talking about. And we all have a default state of being. We have this default state of being, which is based on all the experiences, what we came in with, maybe even what we came before we came in here, before we came to this planet, maybe there's part of that in there as well. And basically that's what you come up with today, and that's how you move in this world, and that is what you radiate. However, the good news is you can change that. You can change that. We can use our power of will, which is one of the 12 powers, to decide to make that different. So who was here at the movie last night? Okay, you are dismissed. You can go home now. By the way, for anybody who wants to see a fabulous movie, as an aside, it was really good. We will definitely be showing that one again at some point. It was a very, very powerful movie. So, okay, but you're hearing me. So we have, coincidentally, in this dualistic world, we have two parts to ourselves. We have our ego self, and we have our divine self, our essence. And that's a lot of what Howard was talking about last Sunday. It was about this essence part of ourselves. So, in terms of being and living from these two different aspects of ourself, when we're living from our ego self, the ego part of us is the part that develops after we're born. So when we're born, we are born as essence. We are born as love. Have you ever held a newborn baby? You know why we're also attracted to newborn babies? Like you see when you're like, oh my God, let me be close to that. That is because they are still connected 100%. They are radiating that love from which they came. Can you imagine being in a bad mood and being angry and holding a brand new newborn? Is it possible?
No.
I don't think it's possible. Yeah, I don't think it's possible. How does that change you, right? That's how the state of being of another can change us, and how we, in turn, can change others. That's how we can touch others. So the ego part of ourselves is, so we're born in love, and as we grow up, we develop our ego. And our ego is necessary to live on this planet. It's how we interact, it's how we navigate on this earth plane. But the ego has limitations. So the ego is based in separation. The ego sees only separation. It's often grounded in survival. And it's also limited by time and space. It's only here. It only has information from here. Our essence, that part of us that is connected to love, that is love, on the other hand, is in a state of knowing connection. It operates outside of time-space. So it has access to information outside of what we see and know right here, in ways that are sometimes, well, very often, miraculous. And what I saw recently was, you might have heard on the news about the grandparents, and the little boy, the grandson, who was killed. When the father was reading his impact statement, he had a part of it where he was relaying that in the springtime, not long before this happened, the little boy started asking him at bedtime about heaven and God and what happens when we die. And the dad said, well, are you talking about this in school? And he said, no. I just want to know. And so the dad said, well, heaven's great. You can fly, you can do whatever you want, and God's there to protect you, and all those things that he'd want to say to his son as he's going to sleep. And then the son said, well, Daddy, I'll be in heaven to greet you. And the dad said, no, we're going to be in heaven to greet you, because you're going to grow up, and you're going to be a dad, and you're going to be an old man. Right? I know, wow. I know, when I read it, I was like, am I going to say this? Am I going to laugh? I don't know. So what is that? What is that? That is love. Right? That is love. That is being connected outside of our space-time continuum. Right? Like how do you explain it any other way? Right? So we've got these two parts of ourselves. We have our ego part, and we have our essence part. And my guess is that if you're sitting here today, you've had some experience of this essence part in some way. So even though we're not like newborn babies and living from that place, my guess is that you've had some kind of experience, whether it was in meditation or whatever. Jim Carrey talks about having this experience and then wanting it to come back and doing, like, searching. And that is what often starts our search for something more, because we've experienced it, right? We've had this experience outside of the realm of anything that's, normal or can be explained. And it's experience that many times we can't even put words to, right? Can't even put words to it. So what are we going to do with these two parts of ourselves? We've got our ego self and our essence self. Is it possible to live in essence all the time? I don't know. I don't think so. I think maybe we can have moments of it. I'm not sure that we can live there. Maybe some people can. Maybe, I don't know, maybe if you're in a cave on a mountain or something. But then we still have our biological body, right? And it runs, and we have to live in this world. So Barbara Marx Hubbard is a futurist, and I love her idea. Her idea is that we are evolving, our next level of evolution is into what she calls the beloved. So it is bringing together in unity, coincidentally, these two parts of ourselves. Because I don't know if you've ever had the experience of we are aware of this other part, and you have battles between them, and sometimes you're here, and sometimes you're there, and you're jumping back and forth. Well, her idea is that it's possible that we could then integrate those two parts of ourselves and become the beloved. So, here's what she has to say about this. I thought this was lovely. The fundamental human problem out of which all others spring is, I believe, the illusion that we are separate from each other, from nature, and from spirit. So what part of us is that? The ego, right? When we're listening to ego, that's our ego part. As we continue to place our attention on the essential self, the illusion begins to fade. We remember our deeper identity most of the time. This identity, of course, is not a personal ego, but a personal essence, a unique expression of unconditional reality, or God. Think we're okay? We're good. So how do we do this? Well, we begin by strengthening that part of ourselves that is our essence. Our ego is going to exist. It always exists. It does serve us. But it doesn't serve us as well if the ego is what is driving us. If the ego is in charge, then we are in that state of being of fear, and we cannot be in that integration that she calls the beloved. And when she actually asserts that when you're in this integration of the beloved, that we have a transubstantiation. You know what that is? That is a physical change in the substance of who we are. It actually changes our biology. So, here's what happens. So the first part that I was saying is by strengthening our knowledge and our experience of that essence. That's step number 1. Step number 2 then is for that essence to begin to invite the ego self in and out. And it is through that invitation that the beloved begins to evolve and come out. And there is, okay, I don't have time for that story, so I'm going to go. Okay, That'll be a different story for a different time. I just got the 5-minute mark. So what happens when you begin to focus on and experience more from this other part of ourself? Can't live from there necessarily, but we can have our experiences come from there. And Emily Cady is an author, one of the first Unity authors, and this was what she said in 1903. Ready? Somewhere on this journey, the human consciousness or intellect comes to a place where it gladly bows to its spiritual self and confesses that this spiritual self, its Christ, is highest and is Lord. So what happens at some point, and I have to say this is something that has happened to me, where my ego self had enough experience watching what happened when I was experiencing my essence, that is the source of intuition and love and connection, that my ego self voluntarily gave up being in charge because it recognized the power of the essential self, the power of my essence. And when that happened, that's when I was able to start being the beloved. Right? And a very strange thing happened at the same time. I had this experience of walking around life, and honestly, every stranger I saw, I thought I knew them. I was looking, I was like, oh. It was very strange. It was very strange. It was this deep sense of connection and this deep sense of knowing that I knew them. So how do you know what your state of being is? Well, this universe has created a very clever way to know. Basically, the entire world and everybody in it is a reflection back to you. So, what is showing up in your life? Who are the people that are showing up? What are the experiences that are showing up for you in your life right now? That is reflecting back to you your state of being and where you're at in this moment. So take that reflection as information. If it's not what you want it to be, know that it can change. Employ self-compassion to forgive yourself if it's not where you want to be. You want to be somewhere different. So when you are in this state of the beloved, when you begin this integration process, and I don't know how long it takes, or if it happens instantly or happens over time, I only have my own sort of vague sense to go by. So how it's going to be for you could be completely different than how it is for me. But what I find is that when I'm really connected to this place of the beloved, I walk into situations of conflict as a calm presence. I'm able to put myself into a place of connection, a place of love, where I can consciously flow that love into the situation. Now, do I do this all the time? Am I there always? Am I absolutely perfect? Absolutely not. My husband's right there. And he'll tell you. For all those people who thought my husband was a figment of my imagination, he's real. And he's right there. And he can tell you, without a shadow of a doubt, that no. This is not something, this is not about perfection. This is about growing. This is about journey. Right? That's how we get there. So I love physicist Thomas Campbell. I don't know if any of you have read any of his work. All right, are we in? Chad, we need your magic again. I didn't push the button, I promise. Okay?
Maybe it's not my vibrational field, it's yours.
Okay, Chad, now you're just toying with me. That's awesome. That's awesome. Okay, so there are some scientists out there. There's a physicist named Thomas Campbell, and I don't know if any of you've run across him. Fabulous book. His book is like this thick. I've only read part of it. It's something that's going to be my life's journey to finish reading this book. And what's really interesting is that the more you go deeply into the science, it comes right back around to spirituality. Right? So scientists are willing to go there and go deep. This is what happens. So how we go to this state of beloved? The first and most necessary ingredient is a sincere desire to grow the quality of your consciousness, to evolve your being, to permanently change yourself at a deeply personal level. So desire is the number one thing. If you want it to happen, then we can make it happen. The second thing, the second most necessary ingredient, is to have the courage to change. The courage to face your fears, to face death and personal destruction. For that is the story your ego will tell and try and get you to believe when it comes whining to you with its tail between its legs, hoping to dissuade you from increasing the quality of your consciousness. Because as you begin this work, that's what's going to happen. Because at first the ego thinks that you are trying to annihilate it, and it will fight back. That's what egos do. That's what they're built to do. Right? So, if you know that ahead of time, which I'm now telling you, so now you know it, it's a whole lot easier to deal with. Okay. So, what can we do? So let's just go really quickly here, because I know we're short of time. So I made a little acronym here for how we can begin this process for ourselves. What to do. L for love, let go. Let go of being attached. Let go of your opinions. Let go of outcomes. Let go of control. Let go of past hurts. Let go of taking things personally. Do an experiment with yourself. What happens if you go for a little while and you don't defend yourself? But I'm not talking you get into, a situation where there's self-defense required. I'm talking about you're having a conversation with somebody. Somebody's accusing you of something. Somebody misinterpreted what you said. What happens if you don't defend yourself in that moment? You begin to lessen the effect of that ego, because the more attention that we place on the ego, the stronger it is. Okay? It's our choice. The O is be open. Be open to receive love. Be open to receive intuition. Open to possibility. Open to grace. Open to what is showing up right now. Be open to that. Accept that. And then it can change and transform. The more we don't accept, the more we're not open, the more that's not going to happen. And when you're talking to yourself, as we all do, listen for the stories that we're telling ourselves. And listen for the meaning of the story, the meaning that we give things, right? Try and start being aware of telling yourself the story with just the facts. Remember, Dragnet, just the facts, ma'am, just the facts, right? What are the facts in this particular situation? I have a client who made himself feel really, really bad because of the facts of that he was recounting about what had happened. Being let go from a job and yada, yada, yada. And the story that he had created around that was about how, clearly he wasn't worthy, he wasn't doing a good job, yada, yada, yada. I said, what if you just stick to the facts? Facts are, you were fired, you were let go, but you got a package that sustains you for a whole year, and over this year, you've been doing all this tremendous growth. Is that a bad thing? Or is that a good thing? Right? we can also start telling ourselves good stories with those facts. Because the only thing that's real and true, in a sense, are the facts. We can tell ourselves whatever story we want to. Oops, B, visualize. Visualize, use your powers of imagination to send love to yourself and send love to others. Visualize that beloved. What might that look like for you? Get really in touch with what's possible for you. And E is for engage. What I'm talking about is an active process. This is not something that happens in your mind. This is not an intellectual thing. You have to go out and be different. You have to approach things differently. You have to want to. You have to have the courage to. You have to engage with life. Because if you don't engage any differently, nothing different is going to happen. And engage your observer. I don't know if you've seen or felt or sensed or know this part of yourself that's the observer. But it's the one that knows the facts. It's not the one that tells the story. It's the observer of our experience and what's going on. And the more you can connect and engage with that part of yourself, the more you're going to be able to get into that integrated place of the beloved. Okay, some final thoughts. When you're rooted in love, when you're solidly in the beloved, then you will be the change that you want to see in the world. Who wants a different world? Who wants to be the change that's going to make that different world? Okay. So we have gone on the love train, we've gone on this beautiful journey, and now what I'd like to do is take you on a meditation to do an inner journey, to begin to experience what's possible in terms of this beloved. So we are going to sing I Surrender. Vivian's going to lead us in I Surrender as we move into the guided meditation. We'll do the guided meditation and then we'll sing I Surrender as we come out again. So we'll sing it 3 times. I surrender. I trust and I know as I surrender, I fall into the arms of love. I surrender. I trust and I know as I surrender, I fall into the arms of love. I surrender. I trust and I know that as I surrender, I fall into the arms of love. I fall into the arms of love. Fall into the arms of love. And I invite you to take a deep breath in and let it out. And take another deep breath in and let it out. Bringing your awareness to the here and now, the presence in this room. And I invite you to take your awareness to your heart. And imagine that you are breathing your beautiful breath in and out through your heart chamber. I want you to imagine now that you are sitting in a beautiful sacred space. Whatever that is for you. Just look around and notice. What is around you in this beautiful sacred place that is just for you to experience your essence, your divine self. And within this place, I want you to imagine that you are purely and completely your divine self. Allow your divine presence to expand within you. With every breath, imagine it getting stronger. And as you do this, a light begins to emanate from your heart. And it begins to glow. In this sacred space, with this glowing, beautiful light coming from within you, I invite you to invite your ego to ascend into this light. Imagine that ego part of you noticing, really noticing the wisdom of this divine part of you, this divine self that is love, that is connected to the universe, connected to all that is. Is your ego willing to go there now? Just see where you're at. Notice where you are at. If it is okay to go there, if that feels safe for you today, then imagine that ego part of you being enveloped and surrounded by this glowing light of the divine, by this love presence that you are, that exists within you always. Feel the bliss of the union between your human self and your divine self. And now, as they come together, the increase in the vibration now penetrates deep within your cells, like an internal healer whose hands are vibrating with the frequencies needed to restore harmony and love. Feel your weary, wounded, separate selves being bathed and healed in whatever way is appropriate for you today. And take just a few moments to surrender into the arms of love.
Surrender. I trust and I know that as I surrender, I fall into the arms of love. Surrender.
So start bringing yourself back.
I trust and I know that as I surrender, I into the arms of love.
Fully back.
I surrender. I trust and I know that as I surrender, I fall into the arms